Obunkenke wano ku kkooti y'amagye e Makindye, omulamuzi aganye His Excellency Elected President of Uganda Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert Bobi Wine okuyingira mu kkooti era bw'atyo n'alagira aba SFC abali emabega okugoba Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert Bobi Wine alemesebwe okuyingira mu kkooti okulwanira mukwano gwe retired Dr. Kano Kizza Besigye. Obunkenke bweyongedde nnyo wano ku kkooti era we tuli olunaku olwaleero. His Excellency Elected President of Uganda Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert Bobi Wine amaze okuba nga atuuka era twongera obajjukiza n'obategeeza nti olunaku olw'ejjo omukulu teyasobodde kutuuka era omukulembeze w'eggwanga Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert Bobi Wine n'agamba nti olunaku olwaleero kafube okulaba nga batuula bulungi, naye nga tumanyi nti poliisi egenda nekola ebintu oluusi ebitaliiyo, abalamuzi ne bakola ebintu ebitaliibyo nga bonna babeesingidde ku muntu omu bwe batyo bamuganye okuyingira mu kkooti. Naye tujja kuba tubawa update zonna ezigenda okuba ziva mu kkooti we tuli e Makindye. So mubeereko baganda baffe, abantu baffe, mwenna tubasaba mubeereko tusobole okulaba nga buli kimu tukitambuza nga bwe kyanditambudde era nga kigendera ddala mu maaso. Tuli wano mu kkooti y'amagye e Makindye n'omulamuzi aganye, oyo ye mulamuzi no aganye President Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert Bobi Wine okuyingira mu kkooti. Mwewadde eddembe but your time is out.
It requires a reference to the Constitutional Court or not, so you can proceed.
Excuse me, I wanted just to know why are you laughing? Hold on. Unless you don't know his role, maybe he has advised. That's what I wanted. I think the council can proceed. I think go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, honorable members. Following the ruling that has just been delivered, our instructions are to seek for a reference on a number of matters. The ruling has itself interpreted articles of the Constitution and found them inapplicable. That role is a role that is reserved for only one court in this land, the Constitutional Court. But Mr. Chairman, I want to preface my application for a reference by taking the court to Article 208 of the Constitution. That article, Mr. Chairman, establishes the UPDF. And it spells out a number of very good attributes for the UPDF: patriotic, professional, discipline, and so on. Those attributes, in fact, distinguish the UPDF from other previous forces of a similar nature. So they are quite impressionable, they are quite useful. We think that they are amazing attributes to have. I have found them also on the UPDF website. So the UPDF itself is aware of what these attributes are. One of the most important attributes in Article 208 is that the UPDF is subordinate to the civilian authority. Established under the Constitution. Mr. Chairman, what that means is simply that the force, its members, and its organs are all subordinate to civilian authority. And in fact, the courts, I will be referring you to a number of cases, the courts have made pronouncements to that effect. And we contend that in the finding that you have this matter, General Court Martial is putting itself above civilian authority. And I will explain what that means. Mr. Chairman, our Constitution is a very, very important document to us. The preamble tells us all the things that were wrong with this country. It tells us the things we aspire to. And it also says these are the ideals we should pursue. And in saying so, it wasn't about 1995 when it was promulgated, but it was to continue up to eternity. That same document also gave us a chapter 4, which covers many articles on human rights and so on. I'm going to refer to 28 shortly. But the force, the UPDF, must live by what the Constitution declares. In addition to what I have just said, that same Constitution says that the rights of all persons, including of each person, are inherent. So they are not granted by anybody, not any organ, not any person. They are inherent. And they can only be taken away in the manner that the Constitution has said they can be taken away. So I will start with Article 28 on the right to a fair hearing. Honorable Chair, the right to a fair hearing has been described as that Article 28 as a culmination of Uganda's struggles against forces of tyranny, oppression, and exploitation, brought about unconstitutionality and political instability. It is one of those articles that cannot be derogated from. So there are no circumstances at all under which one can ignore or disapply or fail to observe that specific article. One of the most important aspects of that article is in Article 28:12. Article 28:12 provides that except for contempt of court, no person shall be convicted of a criminal offense unless the offense is defined and the penalty prescribed by law. The emphasis is on the defined, what we are dealing with. So Article 28:12 requires that every offense is clear. The idea around definition is that when you read it, you know what conduct amounts to an offense and what conduct does not amount to an offense. And it cannot be derogated from. So if we have a situation where it's not clear, then we are derogating from Article 28. So, Mr. Chairman, the charge sheet has an offense which is described as offenses related to security. It is contrary to Section 128, 1F of the UPDF. Let me read it out. Paragraph F is to the effect that if you do or omit to do anything with intent to prejudice the security of the defense forces, you commit an offense. If you do or omit to do anything. So, to walk into, as a civilian, I could walk into military barracks. I could be charged with that. I could be charged with that. If I am a kid and I decide that the porridge I have been asked to make for this morning has, in my assessment, and I refuse to make the porridge. As a result, people go out in the unit and they are hungry, they are ambushed and they have no energy to fight. You can be charged with that offense. That is if I refuse. If I don't refuse and I make the same porridge, knowing that the people may have an issue, but we have to eat, people have to go out, and people go out on the road running from it. I can discharge that offense. If you do, if you omit, now, Mr. Chairman, it would be useful if the court looked while considering this application. The rest of the paragraphs, 128(1)(a) to (e), because they are very specific as to what it is a person could do. Disclosing by word of mouth or document information to the enemy. That is clear. Confidential information, giving a password to somebody who is not authorized, and then at the end of that section, if you do anything or omit to do anything, I contain the offense is not defined. Article 28(12) deals with the gist of it. The purpose for it is to ensure there is no vacancy. So it is the constitutional standard to deal with vagueness. And why is there a problem with vagueness is simply because you can have overreach. the application of the section depends on the whims of the person who decides that it applies. It doesn't apply. The gentleman making porridge, the gentleman refusing to make porridge. If I disarmed somebody who is perhaps drunk and I feel like becoming a danger until 6 p.m. and I have nowhere to take the weapon that I have taken from him, and I maybe have to hold it up in the air shouting, just disarm this person and not committing an offense. This is a big problem in our assessment with that provision. So, Mr. Chairman, it is the contention of the accused person that that offense is written in words that clearly show that the people who drafted it had run out of the clarity. Then they just said, let's just also put a net and see what else we can catch. We want to catch Nile perch, but let's put a net. If we also get mokene, we get worms, we get stones, it's okay. Let's just catch everything. But the whole intention was we wanted to get Nile perch. So, Mr. Chairman, honorable members, it is our contention that there is a question that arises with regard to section 128(1)(f), and the question that I will pose to the court is simply this: whether that section 128(1)(f) of the UPDF Act is defined in terms of, and therefore consistent with, Article 28(12) of the Constitution. Honorable Chairman, the General Court Martial cannot answer that question because, as I said earlier, the role of answering these questions is the preserve of the Constitutional Court under Article 137(1). We trust that the Court Martial, as part of the UPDF, is a law-abiding citizen institution, which is why I referred to the attributes of the force, which must be professional and disciplined, and is aware that it must subordinate itself to the provisions of the Constitution. Will find this question one that can be referred for interpretation. Mr. Chairman, there is another question that we would like to also pose. And it's a question that has arisen here severally, but continues. And it is so fundamental to the trial of especially the two civilian gentlemen that it's imperative that it be addressed. Mr. Chairman, again, Article 28, Sub-Article 1, spells out the standard that is expected, that is required, from which there can be no derogation as far as a fair hearing is concerned. Fair, speedy, public hearing before an independent and impartial court. Independent and impartial. The cases Mr. Chairman, that have dealt with the issue that I am addressing you on, the trial of civilians, are many. Captain Amon Biarugaba is one such case, 2015. Attorney General, Uganda Law Society versus Attorney General, 2005. Attorney General and Joseph Tumushabe, 2005. Michael Kabaziguruka, 2016. They have all said the same thing. And that thing is that with the setup that exists in the structure of this court, it is impossible for there to be a fair hearing. They have addressed questions of independence. They have addressed questions of impartiality. And I say this, Mr. Chairman, with all the humility I can and all the respect I can, but taking you back to the attributes of the force being subordinate to civilian authority. If the judiciary has said this is the position, then the force and its organs must subordinate themselves to that position. Because to do otherwise, Mr. Chairman, is to say that the force, that its organs, that the officers and men, the wonderful officers and men that constitute that force, can rise above the Constitution. If that route is taken, if that view is entertained, if that thought even crosses the mind of anybody, then the entire 150 words of the preamble that I spoke about